Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Sid's Little Corner of the Internet. We've got another Transformers review coming your way. This time around, we're going to be taking a look at the Transformers the Movie Studio Series 86 Dinobot Slug. So as we always do, let's go ahead and take a look at that packaging. Bring that in for its close-up. So right there you have Slug, and you've got a little Daniel riding on his back right there. Dinobot Slug and Daniel Witwicky Transformers the Movie. Over here on the side, you have some Slug and Daniel artwork. On the back, you have your product shots, and you have very brief bios. It is big screen inspired. It says so right up the top, so it must be true. It's the mockery of justice. This is where they were getting judged by the Quintessons Cup and Hot Rod. And down here, Dinobot Slug excuses himself as he stomps over a crushed Quintesson prosecutor. So there you go. And you do have a backdrop included, and you have all your warnings down here, and here's the little Dino baby. Over here, you have some more artwork. Is a leader class. Up top, Transformers movie. Down low, you have your packaging information. And that is it for the outside of the packaging. So let's go ahead and take a look at what came in that box. All right, guys. So behold the glory that is everything that came in the box with Slug. And we'll start as we always do with your little sheet of warnings. Yay, that's there. And then you have the instructions. And he does come with a rifle. And in my opinion, I think this is a nice looking rifle. It is painted. And it does have some good detail on it. There's nothing too exciting about it, but it's definitely better than some of the rifles I've seen with other figures. So I think it's very well done. Personally speaking, I think it's better than the rifle that came with the Studio Series Grimlock. And he finally comes with Daniel. At least we think it is. It could be anyone under there. But this is Daniel Witwicky with his little exo-suit on. And there's not a lot to this figure. This is basically a heavy remold of the wheelie figure that came with Grimlock. So the articulation is very limited. There is nothing in these arms. And the legs, you can do that. You can do that. And you can get him ready for his sumo match if you want to do that. That's really about it. He does have a little peg right under here where you can peg him on to Slug in the robot mode, and we'll see that here in a moment. Or he has these little slots right here that you can use to peg him on to Slug in his Dino mode. So there you go. Now, the last thing that he comes with, if you want to call it an accessory, is the backdrop that you see before you. And this is the background from the Quintesson Pit of Judgment. So, as I've said in the past, I appreciate that they include these, but I don't have enough shelf space, so this is just going to go right back in the box and then it's going to go into storage. Besides, unfortunately, the box I got is damaged, so it is crushed down there, so not exactly in the best of conditions anyway. So that's it for all the accessories and everything else that came in the box, except for the man himself. So let's go ahead and bring Slug in for his close-up and take a look at those details. And here we have the man himself, the man of the hour, Mr. Slug. So let's bring him in a little closer and look at that beautiful face sculpt. This is one of the prettier faces I've seen on a Transformer lately. I think that's very well done. He's either really angry or he's really embarrassed, but we're not going to ask him about that. But I think that looks really nice. I'd like the paint on those eyes. And then down here on the chest, good molded in detail there, and you do have that really nice Autobot symbol. Very well done there. This is nice. And come down here to the torso, just molded in detail galore on this figure, much like the Studio Series Grimlock. So you've got some mechanical detail in there, and even on the insides of the legs, everything looks really nice. It's very well put together. He has those little gold toes. And coming up the side here, again, very well done. I like the color scheme, what they've done here with him. And if we lift those arms up, you can see that even the sides have some detail in there. And then for the arms themselves, I think they look pretty nice. It's got those big old black fists. Yeah, very nice. And we come over here to the back. And yeah, he's got a lot of Triceratops hanging off of him, but He's always been that way. So as far as Triceratops go, it doesn't look that bad, and I like what they've done here. It almost looks like a short little stubby Triceratops if you look at it right there. Oh, just a short little Triceratops. Oh, never mind. Let's just ignore that. And down here, a little bit lower, one of the nice things that they've really done with this figure that I very much appreciate is the lack of hollow areas. Everything's filled in. So there's no hollow areas to speak of, really. So that really lends a lot to the figure as far as giving him a nice, full, solid, and robust look. Now, as far as the articulation goes, we will take a look at that head. The head is on a ball joint. You can get some side to side, and you can get a little bit of up and a little bit of down, but it's kind of difficult because much like the Siege Megatron, this doesn't lock in. So you just have a lot of play there, but you can, if you try hard enough, you can give him some quizzical looks and grab that ball and have him look down a little bit without using the entire neck joint. And at the shoulder comes up that far, and notice the use of this filled in area right here, so there's no hollow space underneath. And they will go full 360. And he has a really good elbow bend due to those double jointed elbows. And he has bicep rotation. And down here at the wrists, he has wrist rotation, and he does have a little bit of wrist swivel. This is due to the transformation, but you can take advantage of that if you choose to do so. Before we go any further, I guess you could call this articulation as well. You know, you can angle these wings any way you want, depending on how you want him to look. So that's totally up to you. So if you want to count that as articulation, there you go. And down here at the waist, he does have waist rotation. So you could go all the way around with the waist. Just be aware that when everything is tucked up properly, he's limited before he starts running into it. But if you disconnect this, then you could take that and get some pretty extreme poses with the waist. And at the hips, he will do a full split for you. So not quite the Van Damme, but still pretty good. And he can kick forward that far. And he can kick backward if you avoid the tail and the wings about that far. You just have to spread that leg out a little bit like that. So good forward and back kick. He does have thigh rotation. And down here at the knees, he does have double jointed knees, so you get a really good knee bend out of him. Now this is one of my, I don't want to call it a complaint, but this is one of my points of contention on this figure. Because of that double joint, when you bring this back, this is in the full locked position, and it's nice and solid, but as soon as you do that, you have a little bit of play. So if you have him like this, great, but if you knock those knees back, now he's got a bit of a lean to him, and it makes it really difficult for posing. So I would have liked to have seen them do something better. It's not a deal breaker, but just something to be aware of. So down here at the feet, he does not get anything forward and back. His feet are just locked in place, but he does get really good ankle tilt. So great articulation on this guy. All right, so what we will do now is, why don't you just do a pose like that? Maybe like a Saturday Night Live or a Saturday Night Fever pose, not Saturday Night Live. So real quick, before we get into the transformation, I did want to just take a moment to show you guys the effects compatibility and show him with his accessories in robot mode. So as you can see, I've gone ahead and done a little bit of pre-decoration with all the ports. So you have quite a few places where you can have this guy using some effects and have a good time with it. And of course, he does have that ability with his rifle. Now, this is very, very tiny. The little nub that you use on the end of his rifle to plug this in, but it's definitely possible. It's something that you can do for sure. And then of course we have little Daniel sitting here on his arm. So Daniel does have the ability to not only sit right there via that little port, but you can also place him on either shoulder. So you do have a port right there, and you have a port right there as well. So if you wanted to do so, you could just plug him in like this. If I can get an angle and all my effects are falling out, that's okay. There we go. Got him in. So you could have something like that if you wanted to do that. And then the last two effects ports that he has are right on the bottoms of his feet. So if you want a big flying dino, you could do something like that as well. So, like I said, just wanted to show you guys the effects and the accessories, and now we'll go ahead and we'll jump into that transformation. Alright guys, so let's go ahead and get this transformation started. Now before we get into it, I do want to say that this backpack, once you disconnect it up here, it gets kind of floppy, so I'll do my best to keep that out of the camera, but just understand if this is flopping around, that's just part of the deal. So the first thing you're going to want to do to transform him is you're going to want to take these fists, you're going to want to rotate them 180 degrees, and that's going to give you the ability to just tuck them in right there. So do that on both sides, rotate them around, give them a tuck, and then you can turn your attention to this chest area right here. Just grab it right here, give that a pull, and then you're going to grab this head, bring the head down, and then you're going to bring the mouth up, and then just tuck that away right there, so it should look like that. And now these are on double hinges, so what you're going to want to do is take these two pieces right here, flip them up, and then you're going to bring these in on the double hinges. There you go. So kind of give them a good squeeze so they're right there. That's going to align the crest up right here. And then once you do that, then you can, whoops, then you can take this chest piece and close that chest piece up, and that'll lock all of this in place. And then for the most part, you have the upper or the front of the Triceratops mode complete. So then you can come down here, turn your attention to these legs, and like I say, once these kind of just become disconnected naturally once you're messing with this head anyway. So when you untuck that, this whole backpack's going to flop around on you. So I'm going to flip him upside down for the purposes of this transformation, so it's a little bit easier to see. There we go. So for these legs, you're going to want to, let's turn him around to the front, you're going to want to flip these ankles like that. And then once you do that, you have these little flaps right here. You're going to open these flaps up, and then you're going to bring this out from his calf, and then bring that flap back down and close that ankle again. So do the same thing over here. So you brought that ankle up, lift that flap, bring this piece out, close the flap again, and bring that ankle down. After you've completed that, go ahead and turn that waist 180 degrees. And then you're going to take these legs and essentially you're going to fold them up. So you're going to take this and bring all that together like that. All right? So like that, and you can kind of see where we're going here. That's what we're trying to get to. Now, once you have these right here, this, of course, is going to want to come down. So go ahead and extend that tail out. And then you have something that's going to be a little bit of a guide for you. You have tabs right here that are going to correspond to slots right there on the sides of these wings, which will become the sides of his torso. So if you get those lined up, pull these legs out to where everything looks like it's fairly aligned, then you're going to be in pretty good shape. So you can just clip those in and then kind of have those legs lined up like that. You're not going to lock anything in place yet because you still need to spread these legs back here open, and you have slots right in there that are going to correspond to tabs on either side of this tail. So you're going to bring that tail down, you're going to tuck it down in between those legs, and then you're going to line up those slots to those tabs. And it takes a little bit of doing. You're mostly doing it by feel here, and it's not the easiest thing to do when you've got a camera right in front of you either. So there you go. So once you get those there, you're actually in really good shape because everything starts to come together very nicely. So now for the tail, you see the tail back here, you're just going to give that a push, and that's going to snap everything in. So now you have, essentially you have the rear end of the Triceratops complete, and as long as your wings right here stayed tabbed in, then you should be pretty solid. So now all you need to do is unfold the little Triceratops legs. Bring those out. Do the same thing on the other side. And now you're just in your cleanup mode where you want to pose him. Open his mouth. Make sure you've got all the legs about where you want them to be. And the last step is to take his rifle, and you're going to tuck that rifle away right here in this tab under his tail. So just line that up. Give that a nice gentle push. And there you have Slug in his Triceratops mode. So let's go ahead and bring him in for a close-up and take a look at those details. So this is a very nice looking Triceratops mode. So we'll start right up here with that big old head. And I absolutely love the paint apps that they've used on this figure. This gold looks spectacular, and these big blue eyes. I like what everything that they've done here with this. Big old Autobot symbol on the front. And if we look in his mouth, he does have detailing even in there, which is very cool. And he does have an effects port in here, but you're not going to be able to get a very large effect in there. And then he has detailing right up there. And even on the underside, you've got some nice detail going on. And we've already seen these in his robot mode, but it's worth taking another look at again. He's got those big old Triceratops toes, and that crest is done very nicely. And over here on the side, get my hand out of the way, you can see all kinds of nice molded in detail here. Looks really, really, really well done. And back here looks good. It's got that big old tail. And I think they've done a great job here with the gun, blending it in to the end of the tail. This does not at all detract from the look of this. I actually rather enjoy it. So yeah, I think this looks very good. My biggest complaint in this mode is just going to be these hollow areas when you unfold those legs. But more often than not, you're going to have your figure posed like that. So you're not going to see it. So yeah, there he is from the top. And from the bottom. So good job cleaning up in this mode. Not a lot of robot kibble. And as far as the articulation goes, there's not a lot in this mode. You do have the ability to open that mouth and close it, but you're not going to get anything at the head. It doesn't turn. You can get a little bit of tilt, but not what I would call articulation. And then these are just his arms. So, you know, you have that, you have this, you have this, and you have this. And then back here, these legs, you do have the ability to bring those, well, essentially they're going to fold away anyway, so you can bring those up as far as you want, and they go that far. And at the knee, same thing, you can fold those up. There's no outward movement here, but you can turn these whichever direction you want. So that's pretty much it as far as articulation goes on this guy. What we'll do before I bring in the comparisons, let's go ahead and talk about the effects and the accessories, or the accessory with Daniel. So we can just go ahead and bring Daniel in now. So in this mode, you have these posts right there. And you're just going to plug Daniel in on these little slots right there, so you could line his feet up and get him plugged in. And lo and behold, there is Daniel riding a Triceratops, riding Slug through wherever, the depths of Unicron, the Quintesson Pit of Judgment. Pick your episode. And then as far as the effects go, you can have a little bit of fun. Like we said earlier, you could have a little bit of tail blaster action going on if you want to do that. You have the blast effects that you can use right here on the sides. Now the leg does interfere a little bit with it, so your best bet is to use a skinny effect right there. But you can put a big boomer right there, so he's taking fire. You can do something like that. And in the mouth, gonna need another skinny effect because you don't get a whole lot here. You can plug that in, and there you have your fire-breathing Triceratops. So I think he needs a breath mint. Alright, so that is it as far as effects and the accessories go in the Dino mode. So let's go ahead and bring in some comparisons. Alright, so before we bring in the big guys, I figured I'd go ahead and I'd give you a little bit of a comparison between the Daniel that comes with Slug and the wheelie that comes with the Grimlock. So as you can tell, they are essentially the same mold. This is just a heavy remold of wheelie. So if we bring them in here, you can see as far as the legs are concerned, you know, you have, for the most part, the same geometry. There's a little bit of a difference here just for to give it that bit of a wheel look. But, you know, everything is pretty much the same. They're both sitting on ball joints. Their legs have the same level of articulation and movement. If anything, wheelie actually has more articulation than Daniel does. I mean, at least wheelie's arm can come out and up and down, and this one can do that, whereas Daniel's arms, yeah, they don't really do much of anything. I mean, you've got these ball joints down here, but you get this. So there's just not much going on here with this. And these feel like if you pull on them too much, they're just going to pop right out. So not a lot going on there. Now, the cool thing is, if you want to take the risk of losing it, you can actually take wheelie's little slingshot out, and it will fit in the holes in Daniel's hand. So, you know, if you want to do that, you're more than welcome to do that. But this belongs to wheelie. We all know that. So Daniel, you give it back, and we'll plug that back in his hand. And yeah, guys, that's pretty much it for these two. Like I said, I just figured I'd bring them in so you could see the similarities and the differences and everything. So there you go. Alright, so for our first Dino mode comparison, here we have the Studio Series 86 Slug next to the Studio Series 86 Grimlock. And man, I'm telling you, these two look phenomenal together. I mean, this is cool. This takes me right back to childhood, seeing a couple big old dinos. This is cool. This makes it worth it for sure. So yeah, there you have Slug and Studio Series 86 Grimlock. Next up, here we see the Studio Series 86 Slug next to the Deluxe Class Slag from the Age of Extinction Bayverse movie. And yeah, guys, there's no comparison. This is far superior. What do you want me to say? No comparison. And the last comparison that we have for the Dino modes is the Studio Series 86 Slug next to what remains of my G1 Slag. And much like a lot of my other G1 toys, this got played with a lot and was very well loved. So, you know, over the years, things have happened. But all that aside, first I want to ask the question, and maybe somebody out there knows, why did they change the name? Why is this Slug now when this was Slag? I mean, is this a Jetfire, Skyfire situation? Did they lose the rights to that name? I don't know. But I've always known him as Slag, but this is Slug. So either way, what they've done here, I think, is a fantastic homage. So if I turn these a little more to the side so you can get a good look at those. I mean, everything, just the little touches. If you look in here on the hip and you look right here, you know, even on the side here, these little pieces compared to this, the little notches up on his back, you know, such care was taken to, you know, really capture this and bring it into some modern engineering right here. So very well done as far as the overall aesthetic. This guy's not perfect, but what a great homage. So yeah, that's it for the comparisons, and I'm gonna stop gushing here and we'll go ahead and we'll get back into transformation and get him back into his robot mode. Alright, so let's transform this prehistoric herbivore, shall we? So the first thing you're going to want to do is go ahead and remove that rifle. So just give that a little wiggle and take that right there out of the tail and put that off to the side. And let's go ahead and get those legs out of the way. So fold them up and fold them up And do the same thing over here. Fold them up and fold them up. And now you can come back here to the tail. Just give that tail a little pull right there. Disconnect it. And when you do that, you can come up here, give this a little bit of a wiggle, disconnect all that. That will allow you to take this entire tail backpack and bring that up like that. And come over here and pull on these, disconnect those wings. And now you can take this entire backpack assembly, bring it up on that double hinge, and get it up out of here, out of your way. Now this is going to get in your way just because it's a little floppy. It's just the nature of the beast here. So most of what I'm going to do now, I'm going to do with him upside down so I can take advantage of gravity. So once you have that, you're just simply going to want to pull on these legs and extend them out. So you're just going to grab them right here, give that a nice pull, bring them out, and you've got those two knee joints right there, so make sure you straighten everything out. After you do that, you have this little flap right here. Open this little flap up and open this foot to give you clearance, or you open that ankle, move that down to give you clearance, and then you're going to bring this Dino leg in and just tuck it away right there, close that up, and then put your ankle back. And we'll do the same thing on the other side here. So just grab that, pull it out, move that ankle out of the way, lift that little flap up, swing this in, close that up, and close up the feet. And then at the waist right here, go ahead and turn that 180 degrees, and then you have the legs complete. And don't do what I did. Don't knock his horn off. So let's go ahead and put the horn back. This isn't typically part of the transformation. It's just part of the transformation when the horn comes off. So squeeze that horn back on. Now we can turn our attention to the upper body right here. So what you're going to want to do is grab right here, open that up, and after you do that, now you're going to take these pieces and you're going to spread them out. So make sure that you have these disconnected. You can pull that head up a little bit to get it out of your way, because then you're going to just grab right here and pull these and spread them out. There's a double hinge right in there, so you're just going to spread them out on that double hinge. Do the same thing on the other side here. And once you do that, now you just take this piece and bring all that down into that central cavity. And then right here is his head. You're just going to grab his head and lift it up. It could be a little stubborn. There we go. So grab that head, lift it up, and then keep everything like that. Now you're going to bring these chest pieces back in so they're aligned on either side, and squeeze those in. So they should look something like that. And then you just swing this back up. Now this head, it does not lock in anywhere, so the only thing holding it is just that little pin in the back. So he is a free-floating head when it comes to that. Then you can take these two pieces, shove them down, and while you're right here, go ahead and bring those fists out. Now, if you have trouble getting these fists out, bring a tool. So what I've discovered here is if you just stick the rifle in a little bit and pull up on that, that helps get that fist out nice and easy, and then you can rotate that 180 degrees. And you do the same thing on the other side right here. So stick that in, pull that out, and rotate 180 degrees. And the only thing you have left to do now is this backpack. So the backpack is, this is my least favorite part really, because the only thing that's really holding it on is the friction between these slots and those little tabs right there. So you have this double hinge, bring it up on the double hinge, make sure your head is aligned. Now bring this up on that double hinge, and then just push that in, and friction is the only thing holding that in place. After you've done that, you can bring the tail up, swing it in like that, and then just give it a nice push, and then you can adjust those wings any way you want. And after you've done that, you have Slug in his robot mode. Oh, let's not forget, turn those down. There you go. So now you have Slug in his robot mode. So what we can do now is go ahead and bring in those robot mode comparisons. Alright guys, so for our first robot mode comparison, here we have the Studio Series 86 Slug next to the Studio Series 86 Grimlock. And boy, these two guys look absolutely great together. And the weird thing is that at the head, they're about the same height. But with that Triceratops head there, Slug is actually a little bit bigger than Grimlock is. So accurate, not accurate, I'm not sure, but I know seeing these two standing side by side, they sure look really, really awesome. So yeah, this is cool to see this. All right, the next comparison we have is with the deluxe class Slug from the Last Night Bayverse movie. And I think when we were looking at them in the Dino mode, I may have said that this was the Slug from the Age of Extinction. It's the same mold, but technically speaking, I double checked my box, and this is actually the Last Night version of this Slug. So you can see how he looks compared to the Studio Series Slug there, and you can see what a size difference there is between that leader class and the Bayverse Deluxe class. And the last comparison that we have is the Studio Series 86 Slug next to the original G1 Slag Dinobot. And you can see that a lot of similarities in Dino mode, a lot of callbacks here even in the robot mode. I like really what they've done here with the chest piece on both of them with the Autobot symbol, and just the way the legs look here, and even the way that the legs fold up. I think it's a really cool callback. Yeah, mine's missing a lot of pieces on that G1. Sorry, he got played with when I was a kid. But yeah, this is really cool to see the evolution from this to this. So there you go. All right, that'll do it for the robot mode comparison. So let's go ahead and get to those final thoughts. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about those final thoughts on the Studio Series 86 Slug. This is a good figure. I mean, this is everything that we've come to expect as far as leader class figures go, particularly for the Studio Series line. If you have the Grimlock, the Studio Series 86 Grimlock, you know what to expect for the most part in this guy. And oh my gosh, do they complement each other so beautifully. So you know, if for the most part, if you have the Grimlock, you know you want to get this guy. And he does not disappoint. There are a couple of minor issues that I would have liked to have seen addressed. The primary one for me is I simply do not like the way the backpack all comes together. I don't think that just having a couple of friction pins in the back, I don't think that's enough to really keep it from flopping around once you start to handle him a little bit. And it is kind of, I don't want to say cumbersome, but it does kind of get in your way during transformation. So it makes the transformation just slightly less elegant than what it could have been. So yeah, like I say, it's not really a gripe. It's just, I guess on a wish list, it would have been something that I would have liked to have seen them do better. And as far as that head goes, it would have been nice in robot mode if the head, much like the Siege Megatron, if that head would lock in and it wasn't just sitting there on a free-floating joint. So it makes it a little difficult, particularly with that cowl, that hood of the Dino head, to, you know, get your fingers in there and move that head where you want it to be, you know, to tilt it back or to give it a kind of a sideways look, that kind of stuff. And my last final real gripe is just the knees in robot mode. So they have those double jointed knees, and you just have to be careful, you know, when you break one of those joints loose, because it gives him a bit of a backwards lean, and it can make it a little bit difficult in posing. By no means is it a deal breaker. It's just something to note. But those items out of the way, there is way more good to outweigh any of the not so good on this figure. The robot mode looks really cool. He's big. He's robust. He feels solid in your hand. He looks great next to Grimlock in the robot mode. And guys, like I'm showing him right here, that Dino mode looks amazing. I mean, this is the Slag Dinobot from the G1 genre, if you will. I mean, this is everything that we wanted that to be. And for the price of a mainline leader class, this is a very well done figure, and I can't discount that. So, you know, the final thought really here is, or the verdict is, if you pick him up, I don't think you're going to be disappointed. This is a fun figure in robot mode. He's a great figure in Dino mode. He comes with some decent accessories with Daniel, even though it's limited articulation. As you can see Daniel on there, it's a cool look. And the overall aesthetic of this figure is great. So once you have him in your hand, I don't think you're going to regret it. So with that, I will wrap up that very long-winded final thoughts. And just say, as I always do, thanks for watching, guys. If you haven't already done so, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Like the video if you like what we do here. Leave us some comments. Let us know what you think. And just keep an eye out for the next one. We'll be pumping another one out here pretty soon. So until we talk to you guys next time, take care.